to our public hearing and public meeting for the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. This meeting is being held virtually in accordance with the open meeting law, where virtual connectivity has been extended to allow us to, or permission for virtual connectivity has been extended, allowing us to continue to meet on this platform, and we're grateful for that. I want to take a roll call because we are meeting virtually for the commissioners. Commissioner O'Brien.
Good afternoon, I am here.
Good afternoon. Commissioner Hill.
I'm here.
Great. And Commissioner Skinner.
I'm here, and good afternoon. I said morning earlier.
Yes. Okay. And we're going to get started, but just a little bit of housekeeping. We have right now on our list 3 individuals who have asked to speak. We're hoping to keep comments to 3 to 5 minutes, but we could always revisit someone if they really need to speak further, but we only have 3. This hearing will stay open until 2 p.m., regardless of whether or not we have any other speakers join us. There may be folks who join us in the public meeting and do wish to speak, and if they do, we're going to remind them to, and Crystal and Dave and Mills, you can help me on this. You're going to be keeping track of anyone who joins. Remind folks to send an email to mgccomments@massgaming.gov. And if that doesn't work for you for any reason and you're online, you can simply give us a shout out and we will make sure that you're heard during this forum. The trick to being heard is because when you come in, you're likely to be muted, will be to engage *6. But the best way to connect with us, if you haven't already, is via email mgccomments@massgaming.gov. So we're going to get started with call to order. Today is Tuesday, July 26th, and this is a meeting for public input on an application for a license to hold or conduct a racing meeting. And this would be an application for a new racing meeting as opposed to the application for a renewal. We have with us members of the MGC staff, including, of course, Dr. Lightbound, our racing director, and the commissioners, and we'll get started with, I see we have Miss Youngquist, Pamela Youngquist, are you calling in? I don't see your name. If so, you could engage *6. Pamela Youngquist. Let's give her a second to see if she can disengage. Otherwise, we're going to go with Barbara Kellogg, and I see, Ms. Kellogg, that you are on. So if you wish to engage your video, you're welcome to do that and unmute. So we'll go ahead with Ms. Kellogg. Crystal, do you think we're having?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no,
yeah,
it wasn't working. Thanks. Okay, I just have a few comments to make. Thank you. First, this new application process that you're contemplating, as you know, is inconsistent with 128A Section 2, which requires that an application be filed in 1 year for racing in the following calendar year. And the statute is clear that it must be filed in 1 year for the next year. I know the Gaming Commission has proposed legislation giving it the ability to award multi-year licenses, but the legislature has not yet seen fit to give you that discretion. Secondly, in your proposed application process, you don't have any absolute minimums that you're requiring at the time of the initial application. You're contemplating that likely the request is going to be to race on what is now an empty lot that would take years to build. So you're not requiring that any part of the application be specific in order to apply for a license. So you could conceivably have 3 separate applications filed on October 1 each with answers to different sets of questions, with the rest being to be determined. So I think what you need to do is you need to have some minimum requirements for submittal of the application, and certain enumerated questions that require an answer. At a minimum, section 4.1, which is the local approval under 128A, section 13A, that should be a requirement, and the requirement should be that you have an attested copy of the actual approval itself. I know that last year Sturbridge filed an application saying with just a letter that they had approval, but nothing about the conditions that were attached to that approval. Also, in the interest of integrity and fairness and openness of the process, I think that the applicant should be required to list any and all promises that the applicant or any principal or attorney or agent of the applicant has made to the local municipality, especially promises made in order to receive that local approval. Those promises should be listed and made a condition of the license. And in any case where any such promise is contrary to federal, state, or local law, or preempted by federal, state, or local law, and especially any provision of 128A, 128C, or 23K, that inconsistency should require an automatic denial of the license. Another requirement for the submittal of an application should be specific engineered plans for all facilities and tracks, including all the amenities and the grading, shape, and size of any track. In your section 4.4 of other laws and approvals required, should be one of the enumerated requirements for the initial application, and it should include evidence that all of the facilities are consistent with local zoning. You should require a detail of the system of manure management that is being proposed and the plans to ensure the welfare of horses on site and their aftercare. And those are notably absent from the application process. And then in section 2.2 should require detailed plans for parking of not only automobiles, but trucks, horse trailers, and RVs, and what areas are going to have 24-hour parking. The system of waste management should be a requirement. The 2.5, the construction timeline, should be a requirement. 2.6, traffic studies. 2.7, capital investment. 2.8, financing structure. 2.9, budget. And 2.10, economic impact or development studies. And that should include studies of all of the proposed activities, racing, simulcasting, how the purses are going to be funded, especially if the Racehorse Development Fund is terminated. And it should include an analysis of all the costs and revenue, not only to the local municipality, but to the abutting communities. 2.11, feasibility studies should be a required part of the initial application. And then section 3, the schedule of the proposed race days, that's a requirement under 128A. It requires any application for a license to state the race days and hours. And that's really just the beginning. I think that the commission is at the beginning of this discussion, and I think you really need a lot more time to flesh this out. Thank you.
Ms. Kellogg, you've
Yes.
had extensive comments, and I extend my appreciation. Would you be willing to submit or memorialize them in writing for us and submit them?
Yes, I would.
The the best address would probably be to go to our general counsel. Todd, can you give her your email address, please?
Is that on your website, his email?
I don't
address?
know. Mine is, you can use mine, but I just soon have it go to.
I can
so you
send
can get-
directly because Barbara did email
You
us.
have
So
it.
I'll just
Okay, why don't, we'll coordinate with Crystal.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Kellogg, and I appreciate
you.
your comments. Commissioners, do you have questions at this time for Ms. Kellogg? I see a no
questions.
from, sorry. Commissioner Skinner,
No questions.
Commissioner Hill? All set, okay, and Commissioner O'Brien, all set. Yeah, you've given us a lot to think about, and we appreciate it. So if you could send those comments to Crystal, that would be perfect.
Okay.
Excellent. And thank you for participating, and thank you for taking a very close look at this matter. I'm just going to go back before I go to Ms. Holdsworth just to see if Pamela Youngquist has joined us by phone. Crystal, have you received an email from her that she's having any difficulty joining?
I'm right here now. I was
Oh.
having a problem. I apologize.
Oh, that's Ms. Holdsworth. I guess I'm looking for Ms. Youngquist.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. I'm going to turn to you
I have not.
in 1 second. Okay,
Okay.
well, we're going to wait for Ms. Youngquist then again, and good afternoon, Ms. Holdsworth. Thank you for joining today. If you would like, you could use the video. If you don't wish to, that's fine too.
Mine's actually not working right now.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I echo a lot of Barbara Kellogg's sentiments regarding this application. I'm not going to repeat them because I don't, for the sake of saving time and not being redundant. But I do want to echo, however, that this really does feel as if it's sort of this application process seems like it's an end run around Chapter 128A, Section 2 and Section 3. And I find that disconcerting. It concerns me also as I'm looking at this that we have a sports gambling piece of legislation that may or may not make it this year. And that may make a racetrack license more valuable. It may be to just simply having that license may permit that sports betting to begin, which leads me to wonder if the license is granted and construction begins, the grandstand may be developed first for the purpose of sports gambling. And I also want to bring to your attention, I'm sure you're very aware of historic horse racing, historic horse racing machines that are used extensively in other states. They haven't been yet in Massachusetts, to the best of my knowledge, but I do know that they are very popular in Kentucky and have been the target of, well, not target, but the subject of extensive litigation that has gone on for several years. And I do worry that that is going to be something that could allow a facility to again come in and sort of do their end run around the rules and build a part of their facility first to start generating the income through historic horse racing, which they would argue is pari-mutuel betting, and perhaps through sports gambling, and then eventually build the racetrack. Maybe the racetrack never comes to fruition. It seems to me there needs to be some sort of, if this is going to proceed as it appears it may, there needs to be a real solid time frame and identification as to what's going to be done when, and suspension of licenses if people aren't hitting their targets. I'm sorry, my dog is weighing in right now. See this?
We don't mind dogs at all.
Oh, good.
Take your time. Take your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you. I do apologize. So those are the biggest concerns I see. I also really do want to echo promises made to the public to induce community support. that I think is enormous. And I think that anyone trying to get a license needs to be accountable for the promises they make. And those promises should be part of subject to your scrutiny, obviously, and they should be required to deliver on those promises. Come here, Susan. No, stop. Pardon me. She's a happy girl, and so I've been dealing with the Plymouth application, or application to be, or whatever it might be at this point in time. And there are an awful lot of promises being made and a lot of secrets, it seems, being kept. And it's really important, I think, if anyone's going to go to a town, to a community and say, this is what we want to build and this is what we want to do, there needs to be transparency. And that so far I've not seen. And I think that that's part of what you folks are trying to encourage through this application. And I hope that maybe it'll be tightened up so that it can be allowed for more community transparency, so that any kind of community approval is actually approval of what was promised, not approval of what it becomes. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ms. Holdsworth. We appreciate your comments and your willingness to participate today. Commissioners, do you have any questions or any comments? Commissioner O'Brien, all set? Commissioner Hill?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Commissioner Skinner?
No questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, and we are all listening carefully, and we appreciate your participation in this public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and again, Ms. Youngquist did sign up for comments. Have we heard from her? No. Okay. We have three. It looks like we have three individuals who have joined so far today. Again, this public meeting will stay open through 2 p.m. Is there anybody who's in attendance currently listening that wishes to offer any kind of a comment? Okay. So before we even we'll go to item 3. Crystal, it's indicating my internet connection is unstable. Is there a problem? No? Okay, good. Great. So before we go to other business, we'll do that at the conclusion at round 2. But as I understand it, commissioners, while the public hearing remains open, we can video out and mute ourselves and do what work we want to do during this period. Just stay vigilant around the screen to know if we should be rejoining, and there'll be is there going to be a screensaver, Crystal? I believe that Dave has one for the.
Yes.
Yeah, I can toss one up here. I'm getting that ready as we speak.
Okay, and again, I'm going to repeat for anyone who may be on the streaming, if you wish to speak, please send an email to mgccomments@massgaming.gov. And this is again, as we consider an application that has been developed to address a need for we did not have an application that was written appropriately for a new application for either thoroughbred or standardbred horse racing. That's what's being discussed, and we welcome any further public input and appreciate both Ms. Kellogg and Ms. Holdsworth for your comments so far. And we'll be staying open until 2 p.m. Is there anything that I've missed, commissioners, or that you wish to add that I'm missing? Also, okay. Okay, then thank you everyone for your time. We'll keep our window open. And just a reminder that we will have a separate public meeting that's been separately posted that will begin at 2:30 to deal with other operational matters. Okay, thanks everyone. Dave, I think we can take down the screen, sir. Please. Thank you.
All good.
Great, thank you. Soon as, yeah.
Once I heard Barbara has her dog, I have mine right next to me now.
That was very sweet. That's the one thing the pandemic has taught us, how our pets have been part of our lives all along. We never got to share them before.
Here's my pal for sure.
Yeah, I had a meeting yesterday with Loretta, and I was from I guess it was Friday, from home, and the pet popped up, and she said, "I never see him." I said, "No, usually stays low and quiet."
Mine's right at my
Okay.
feet.
Ready your feet? Nice. Good comfort.
Yep.
So it's about it's just 5 minutes to 2. I think I've got all 4 of us, out of an abundance of caution, even though we didn't really leave the meeting, I'll just confirm that we are all here. Commissioner O'Brien,
I am here.
Commissioner Hill,
Present.
Commissioner Skinner.
I'm here.
Okay, I see that we have now one individual who is joining us by phone. I want to offer that individual the opportunity to join if he or she wished to provide any public commentary. It would be requirement to try *6 to unmute. We have not received any additional emails from any other members of the public who wish to provide comment. I should note, however, and it's noted in our public packet, that we did receive a number of comments from the public in writing, and we appreciate that input, and we had reviewed those in advance of today's hearing. So I am thinking that we'll be able to close out at 2. I see that both Ms. Holdsworth and Ms. Kellogg are still here. Thank you again for your contributions. Commissioners, I don't think we have necessarily any other business. We do have our next public meeting in a half an hour. Is there anything I'm missing or that you would like to comment on before we close out? I see shaking of heads no from Commissioner O'Brien, Commissioner Hill, and Commissioner Skinner. Are you all set? Okay, everyone's all set. Todd, I'm turning to you now. Is there anything else that we need to do before we close out this public hearing?
No, I think we're all set on this one. We can close the meeting in the ordinary course.
Okay. Again, the only person we didn't hear from, and I hope it wasn't a technical problem, was from Ms. Youngquist, who had submitted an email that she intended to contribute. Certainly, if there was some kind of a technical problem, we would receive her comments in writing now if she wished to submit them. Okay, holding out for 2 minutes? Yes. because that's who we are. I think just in the event Pamela Youngquist were to come in, again, I don't see Dr. Lightbound on. She had a very busy day yesterday with the Spirit of Massachusetts, so maybe we'll get an update at our next meeting in a half an hour on that. Crystal, have I got everything covered? Okay,
Yes. you're good.
excellent. All right, then we will simply close out the meeting now with a motion to adjourn, if somebody wants to provide it.
So moved.
I've got 10:59, so.
Do we need to move?
Oh,
on
that's
a
what I'm
meet-
wondering. Do we just close out?
I think we just close out, right?
This is actually marked as a public meeting as well, so I think you should actually.
Oh,
conclude
okay.
in the ordinary
Second.
fashion.
Did somebody move?
I
Brad did.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Hill, and with a second from Commissioner O'Brien. All right. Then this would conclude the public hearing, and we had preserved a public meeting in the event we had any questions from the commissioners. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
And I vote yes, 4-0. Thank you, Todd, and thank you, Crystal. We will see. I'll see you in a half an hour for our next public meeting. And thank you again, Ms. Holdsworth and Ms. Kellogg. Have a good day.